we welcome you to consumer behavior class. Sorry that the link got shared late. Your class governor didn't reach out to me on time, and I forgot to send the link. All right, so today we are going to actually look at two study sessions, and we will. The first one will be characteristics of consumer markets, which is study session 12, and then we'll look at study session 14 as well, which is, I think, producer and reseller markets. So we will look at what we are looking at in this study session, this first study session, is how to characterize consumer markets. Now, the first question we should be asking ourselves, what's a consumer market? Can you send me a chart? I want to know what you think your idea of a consumer market is. Let's just give 2 minutes for that. Send a chart. Let's know what your idea of a consumer market is. What is a consumer market? I'm not seeing any charts. Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is Cardoso in the class? Cardoso, please raise your hand so that I can make you co-host. Yes, from Temi, you said market for consumption rather than for resale. Yes, Abionu, market for consumer goods. Yes. So basically, the consumer market is a market where is the market. And now when we say market, you don't mean the physical market that you go to like Tejo Show or Sabo. No, we mean the people that make up that market. You understand? So it's the people that end up buying final products that are the consumer market. So when we say the market, I just want you to know that we're talking about the people. So what we are looking at in this study session is we are trying to see the different ways that we can classify that market, because in classifying it, it will help us to the objective for classifying it is so that we can define our target markets as marketers. You understand? So we are classifying it so that we can be able to know that, okay, this part of it is our target market. And there are various ways that we can classify it. The first thing that we can use to classify it is population. So that is the population size, the density, whether the population is older or younger, and so different things like that. Another factor that can be used to classify the consumer market is age. How old the person is or how young. Another factor is income classification. So income, how much money the person earns or how little the person earns. We also have spending patterns, because somebody might be earning $1 million and only be spending 50,000 a month, but another person can be earning 50,000 and be spending 100,000 a month. Yes, we have people like that are living in continuous debt. So spending patterns can also be used. And the last one is objects of consumer markets. We'll learn more about that as we go towards the study session. So let's see how age can be used. No, I must have missed one. Oh, sorry, one slide is missing, but let's look at how population can be used. Now, how can population be used to differentiate your target market? In that, we all know that some places in Nigeria are very densely populated. We have places like Mushin, places like Ajegunle, where you have a lot of people squeezed into small spaces. And then you have places like Lekki, you have places like Ikoyi, Well, Lekki is also these days becoming densely populated, but the Ikoyi is more, you have houses that will have balcony, that will have land and everything in Ikoyi. So Ikoyi is low population density. Places like Ajegunle are high population density. So you as a marketer, depending on what your product is, if your product is a luxury good, then you are more likely to take it to an area, you are more likely to target areas where you have low population density, if it's a luxury good, because those are the people that can possibly afford to buy your luxury product. You understand? And if you are making something that is of less quality, then you are obviously going to be targeting more highly populated areas. All right, so that's for population. Then age, there are different age classifications. We have the youth market, we have the middle age market, and we have the senior citizen market. The youth market is, from, when, and well, for me, there are four. In my own school of thought, there are four, but this is what your module says, so let's stick to that. Because the fourth one for me is the baby market. Because the baby market is, quite distinct from the youth market. You understand, in my opinion. But since this is what the module says, let's go with it. So the youth market for this purpose is from birth to maybe the ages of about 30 years old, or let's say 25. So, in that market, there are more things like video games, school, back to school products, backpacks, exercise books, textbooks, things that young people like. So more of fictional novels and things like that. You understand? So then we also have the middle age market, which is between the ages of 30, of 25 to about, let's say 50, or 40 or 50. So in that market, they are all working class, so they are buying more of office shirts, ties, skirts, office skirts, office blouses, things like that. Those are the products that you would see ordinarily in the middle age market. Then we have the senior citizen market. In this area, they are becoming, their children have gone, so they have more spendable income, because they've probably reached the peak of their career. They may or may not yet have retired, but they've reached the peak of their career, so they are earning more and they have more spendable income. And so in this market, you get more things like, that's when you probably buy a Mercedes-Benz, buy, a nice house and things like that. So, and then of course, to the declining side of it, you have the Pampers for adults and things like that when they are going downhill. So you get products like that also in the senior citizen market. So you can put down your hand. All right. So let's look at spending pattern in relation to population and income. Remember we said spending pattern. So there's a law. I'm going to put it in the charts now. There's a law, a set of laws called angel laws. And we have those angel laws displayed on the screen here. Now, the reason why we have the angel laws is because in more developed countries where they are running a credit card, they are running on credit, they collect more information on transactions because you are going to pay a credit. So I need to know who you are so that I can be sure that when I give you my product, the credit card company is going to be able to pay me. You understand? So for those kind of areas where they have larger, more development and they live on credit, or they have a credit-based society, they are able to, tie purchases, transactions to normal human beings. Cardoso, you said you want to say something? All right. So in those kind of societies, there's more information on transactions. So as a producer, I can buy that information from the credit card company. Yes, they buy it. I can buy that information from the credit card company and use it to know, okay, this is the number of products I'm producing. This is the number that is being sold. So if I need to increase my production or reduce it, I'll get that information. You understand? This is the area where they are buying more of my products. So I will focus more on my marketing activity in that area. Or this is the area where sales is low. So I can improve, on advertisements in this area. So they are getting information, real-time information, and they're able to plan effectively. However, in an area in less developed countries like Nigeria, where we don't have any information on any transaction, where we are just depending on sales, the amount that is in the bank, that enters the bank. That's all we depend on in Nigeria. That, okay, we produce 100 pieces, 50 were sold. That's all we know. We don't know where they were sold. We don't know who bought them. We don't know anything. You understand? That's the only information that we can get. Well, maybe we might be able to get where it was sold, but we are more often than not never able to get any information on the customer. And it's the information on the customer that you are supposed to use to plan. You understand? So because of that, an economist called Angel came up with these laws to guide producers on, how to produce and how to plan for their production. So the first law there is that as a family's income increases, the percentage spent on food will decrease. To be honest with you, this is the first time I've had to teach this class online. So, and in this particular, because I usually like to demonstrate this because it doesn't sound right. Many of those laws don't sound right, but it's only when you calculate it. And usually in my class, I would calculate it for you and we will see that it's true. But, well, you can calculate it. You can try and calculate it. Well, let me try and explain the way I would have explained in class, but I would have loved to have showed you. So if the family's income increases, should you not be spending more on food? Does that not? Who put security? Sorry, there's anyway. Should you not be spending more on food? Somebody said, can I try to use a whiteboard? Where is the whiteboard? Is there a whiteboard feature? I'm trying to see if there's a whiteboard feature. Anyway, so let's it's trying to load. I'm not sure. All right, so I don't have any whiteboard in my office, or else I'll have tried to use it. Sorry about that. Anyway, so let's assume that a family was earning, say, 1,000 naira before. So they were earning 1,000, and then all of a sudden, the father or their breadwinner, their income increased to maybe 1,500 naira. Now, when we were earning 1,000, let's assume that we were spending about 200 naira on food out of 1,000. I think that's reasonable. You understand? 200 naira as on food. So the percentage of money they were spending on food was about hello? Can you still hear me? I don't know what happened. Are you still seeing my screen? Are you still seeing my screen? Cardoso, what happened?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
No, I can't see it again. Sorry, just give me a minute. Oh. Can't see it again. Can you still see the slide?
Yes.
What now happened? Okay.
Every other person can also see it, sir.
Okay, it has come back.
Okay, sir.
All right. It just disappeared before. All right. So, as I was saying, the percentage that they were sending before, let's say they were sending 200 out of 1,000. So, how much percentage was that? Can somebody calculate? Does anybody have a calculator and can answer us? What percentage? That's 200 over 1,000 times 100. As what you can calculate it. Hello.
So 200 over what?
That's 20%. Thank you. 200 over 1,000 times 100. That's 20%. So they were spending 20% when they had 1,000. Now, if their salary now, if their income now increases to 1,500, and now we are talking about rational people. That's very important to understand. We are talking about rational thinking. So if you were earning 1,000 before, and you were spending 20,000, I'll be 200 out of it on food, and then your income increases to 1,500, do you think you will increase the amount you are spending on food? The amount they are spending on food? Let's say, for instance, you have 100 naira as an income every day. You have 100 naira as an income every day. And out of that 100 naira, you are spending, let's say 50, well, 100 naira is small. You have 1,000 as an income every day. Out of 100 naira, you are spending 200 naira on food. And then you are spending another maybe 300 naira on transport. And then when you sleep that night, you put away some money. You put at least 300 naira for your housing. That's how much, that's 800. Then 200 naira for maybe clothing, deodorant and what, soap and all that. So the other 1,000 naira is budgeted for. So if they add 100 naira, is this food that will be the first thing that you add to? You probably continue to eat your 200 naira food. So you see that if you calculate 200 naira over 1,005 times 100, you will see that the percentage that you spend on food has decreased, because rationally you will not increase the amount of food you are spending because you are eating, because your money has just gone up. Yes, in some cases you may increase it, maybe, but you can't increase it to more than maybe like 250 or even 300. You understand? But even 300 is a lot. Abati says it depends. I honestly don't agree that you would, when you're not getting full before, you're getting full now on your 200. You are not going to say because your money has, your salary has increased that you now start eating it, as in literally eating it. Rationally, you would maintain, because you want to have more spending power to spend on other things. That's when you will now start thinking that, oh, okay, because before maybe you didn't have a generator. That's when you will now start looking at, okay, now I have some extra money, I can save up and buy a generator. That's rational thinking. It's irrational for you to now, decide to start eating more. It doesn't make any sense. You understand? That's greed. So if you calculate it and say you are still maintaining the 200, or maybe you add one more piece of meat, so making 250. You understand? If you do the math, you will see that the percentage spent on food actually goes down. So that is the first law, the first angel law. Now, the second one is that as the family income increases, the percentage spent on housing and household operations will be roughly constant. Now, if we are going to, Joshua says that if you're eating more before, you might not see eating Titus. It's a lie. Not if how much has climbed your money that you are jumping anyhow. The money that has climbed it is not much like that now. You understand? So yes, even if you start eating Titus, how much will Titus be? It's a marginal increase, but the percentage that you are spending on food, yes, you might even increase the amount. That's why I say you can maybe make it 250, but the percentage will still, rationally, the percentage must drop. You understand? So the second one, as the family's income increases, the percentage on housing and household operations will be roughly constant. That is true. as you are earning more, you start to earn more, you are likely to want to move to a better neighborhood. You understand? And you are likely to, buy a bigger generator. So you are using more fuel and all that. So, but you have increased the amount you are spending on your housing, in that you have moved from a 2-bedroom flat to a 3-bedroom flat. So you have gone from somebody that is paying maybe 800, somebody that is paying 1.2. But at the end of the day, when you look at the amount that you spend on housing as against how much you earn, you will see that you are not, if you are spending about 30%, roughly everybody spends about 30-40% of their income on house rent, So you will see that even as your income is going, you will be trying to move to a better place, and the amount that you are spending on your housing will be about the same percentage, not the same amount, the same percentage. That's for rational thinking. And the rational man will earn more and still sit down in his face me and face you and be suffering there. But we are talking about people that want, good life for themselves and are willing to they are willing to get it while still being rational, meaning that what you were spending, the percentage, you will know how the percentage of your salary that you were using for housing. If your salary increases, you can add a little bit more so that you can get a better living condition. So the third one there is that as a family's income increases, the percentage spent on other categories and the amount saved will increase. That is also true. Because before, you were not using perfume, you were using normal body spray. But as more money is coming in, you start entering perfume, you start buying different kinds of perfume. Before, you were entering bus. But now you are no longer entering bus, you've bought your own car, you understand? So what you are spent on transport has increased. What you are spent on other like toiletries will go up. And of course, if you were saving 100 naira before and you were the kind of person that you always saved money, you understand? If you were saving 100 naira before, of course, as your income increases, who is Cardoso, please don't enable waiting room. I don't want any waiting room. Let people come in. Why do you keep doing that? Don't enable any waiting room. Let people come in. Don't let them stay outside. Anyway, so that's the third law, and the third NGL law. So let's move on. So now we are still looking at spending patterns. We've looked at, spending pattern in relation to income. So whether as your income is getting higher, we've seen what some of the things that you will do. So let's look at spending pattern, in relation to other measurable factors. So the first factor we'll be looking at there is location. Spending pattern according to location is usually quite clear. I don't know if I mentioned it in your class before, but you will never see a Mercedes-Benz. Many people are in this class right now, think about it. Have you ever seen a Mercedes-Benz advert? You understand? You will see that the only time you see a Mercedes-Benz advert is when you're in the bank, or if you are in the office and you're the kind of person that watches CNN. So that's the only place you will see a Mercedes-Benz advert. You will never see a Mercedes-Benz advert on NTA, because the target market is not going to be watching NTA. You understand? Or that's not even location based. You will never see a Mercedes-Benz advert in Mushin. The only billboards that you can see a Mercedes-Benz advert that I've seen so far in Nigeria, you will see one in Ikeja. There's one that is usually around Maryland, that major Maryland junction. You will see there's one in Ikoyi, I think along Alfred Wani. There's one along Lekki Express. Just before you get to all those Ajapato, you will see there's one there, but they won't put it in Mushin. Why? Because the spending pattern in Mushin is not the same as the spending pattern on the island. You understand? The kind of things they buy in Mushin would be, fast-moving consumer goods. If I'm a fast-moving consumer goods producer, I'll carry my goods to Mushin. I'll go and, try it there. You understand? Think about it. Do you think you would see, let's say, where do you think you will see more of gala sellers? You will see more of gala sellers in Mushin and along the popular roads of Ikoyi. So we are talking about that major Rani Street, or so only the major roads of the island, because why? The people from Mushin have moved to those roads during the day. And so the gala sellers follow them all the way from Mushin to those major roads. And by evening, they will follow them back to Mushin. You understand? So that's how location can affect spending pattern. Now, another factor is geographical boundaries. So let's look at geography in terms of countries. The spending pattern in the UK, for instance, where they have a credit-based society, and you will see that they will do more of consumerism. You know what I mean by consumerism? That's they are buying more of, you know, things that you don't necessarily need, but you bought because it looked fine, it looked, you know, it looked cool at that point in time. You don't necessarily need it. You understand? But because you have the ability to buy on credit, you will buy it. Well, that's where you hear that Apple released a new iPhone and it has sold out in one day. You won't hear something like that in Nigeria now. How many people have that kind of money? You understand? Because we are paying cash down. But there, you just go put it on your credit card and you moved on. So where do you think Apple would locate their shops? That's why, you know, they will have many Apple shops in the UK, and in Nigeria, maybe we have like one or two official, not the one that anybody, official shops. I think we only have one, you know, and I don't even know if it's official, but they say it is. But so that's how, you know, look, your geographical boundary can affect your spending pattern. If you are in a geography or an area where, you know, it's a rich country, it's an affluent country, there's money around, you can access credit facilities. Obviously, you will be spending differently from somebody who has to pay cash for everything. Now, another factor is stage of life cycle. So, of course, the more our income levels will, you know, will rise as we grow older, and then we'll peak at some point, and then as it will start to go down as, you know, once retirement comes in and you are just, you know, living on your investments. So your income level would eventually go down. So depending on where you are in that life cycle, your spending pattern will be different, will change. You understand? When you are at the youth stage, the kind of things you'll be buying are things like video games, or that you'll be interested in buying are things like video games. But because you have limited resources, you know, the kind of things you would eventually buy things you will focus on are completely different. Then as you go towards your peak of income, you know, there's more money coming in, so you are spending a bit more. You are buying better cosmetics, you are buying better clothing, more quality, you are, you know, starting to invest in stocks and in shares and so on and so forth, in planning for the later years of your life when the income is reducing. All right, so another factor is what we call asset position. Asset position. You will find that the kind of assets that you have as a person will determine the kind of spending pattern. For instance, if you are still renting, so if you are the kind of person that is still renting, you will find that as you are planning your salary, you are planning, you know, when you collect your income or your salary, there's a percentage that you will put aside for rent. But somebody who has already built his own house is just going to, that percentage, that part that is setting aside, instead of setting it aside for rent, I'm not saying he will not set it aside, but he might set it aside to buy shares. You understand? To buy stocks, to invest in. So the position that you find yourself asset-wise can to a large extent determine how you are able to spend or what you are thinking of spending on. And then the last factor there is whether your wife is working or not. If you are in the household where the man is the only breadwinner, then everything depends on him, and the spending pattern of that household, you know, will revolve around that man, because he's the one making the money, he's the one that is going to decide how they're going to spend it. in most cases. But in a situation where the wife is also working, the man can now shed some weight and now say, oh, you, my working wife, you say manage this part and all that, and so on and so forth. So the way that their household will be in a single income household, all the spending will revolve around that one person. But in an household where they have two people earning an income, obviously then the decisions can be shared more easily. All right, so we are going to look at the objects of consumer markets next. So one of the objects, the first object we're looking at is product characteristics. So product characteristics can affect can be used to segment the consumer market. So the factors are durable goods, whether it is a good that can last for a long time. Non-durable goods are goods that are short-term. You use them up almost immediately, they are purchased. And then services. So depending on whether your good is a not durable good, I don't know if anybody can give me an example of what they think a good durable good is. What do you think a durable good is? Send it to the chat now, please. A product that you buy and you use for a long time. Let me give you an example. An example is a car. Yes, I was just going to say a car. Yes, a car is an example of a durable good. If you buy a car, most cases you will use it for at least 5 years before you think of, well, except if you are extremely, but even if you are extremely rich yourself, you will still use it more than 1 year. If you are the kind that changes your car every year, you will still use at least 1 year. A non-durable good is something that, yes, Suleiman, a ceiling fan is a non-durable good. So there are goods that you know that you are going to use for a long time. Yes, these are all your suggestions are correct. All your answers are correct. But a non-durable good, oh yeah, give me an example of non-durable good. Non-durable good. So non-durable goods are, yes, drinks, things like gala, things that I go to eat, that I go to, so most of anything food is a non-durable good. All right. Then service activities are services so those are intangible products that you cannot see or touch or feel. But there are services that people render to you. So you can segment your market based on, whether the person wants to buy durable goods or non-durable goods, or the person is looking for a service. All right. So another object of the consumer market is shopping habits. Are people buying more of convenience goods? Are they buying more of shopping goods? Are they buying more of specialty goods? So convenience goods are all those ones that you can easily get. Yes, Florence, plumbing works is a service. Convenience goods are those ones that you can easily get without going too far. Around your location generally. Shopping goods are the ones that you have to probably go to the supermarket, and you probably have to, you may not necessarily get it in your local. You might have to go to a little bit of trouble to get it. Then specialty goods are goods that are made to measure. You understand? So things like custom-made furniture, things like sorry, excuse me. But things like custom-made furniture, things like customized cufflinks, things like that. They are made to measure for the person that is buying it, and there may not be another one of it in anywhere else. So they're a bit harder to come across than the other two. So that brings us to the end of the study session 12. So we'll move down to study session 14, which is producer, reseller, and government markets. So now the producer market is consists of organizations who acquire goods and services to be used in production of other goods. So basically what they are doing, I don't know if you remember this from your year 3, we discussed industrial marketing. Industrial marketing is for, the industrial market is the market for raw materials, basically. So anybody who is into production, no matter how big or small, is a member of the producer market. So you have producers from your maybe your baker that has just one oven and is producing cakes for customers, to the large baking organization that is producing thousands of loaves of bread every day. Do you understand? Both of them are producers and they all belong in the producer market. So some examples of producer markets: you have manufacturing industries, agricultural, public utilities, transportation, construction, extractive, which is mining and all that. So, and so on and so forth. So those are some examples of producer markets. So producer markets can also be classified. You understand? The first classification is the goods entering the production itself. That's the raw materials themselves. So for instance, now, if you are a baker, one of your raw materials will be flour. You understand? It is something that you are buying over and over and over and over again as you use it up in production. All right? So the next factor there is capital items. Capital items are those large things like land, building that you will buy. You understand? You will buy it and you will use it for probably throughout the lifetime of your business. You understand? So your building, the building where your business is housed, where your production facility is, things like that. Then another factor is supplies and services. So yes, you are running a business, you are a baker, you are producing cakes. So even at a small level of producing cakes for people, you still have supplies apart from what is going into the production. You still have receipts, you still have flyers that you share about. Those are part of your business, but they are not entering into the actual production, but they are necessary for you to continue to. You have service, you have cleaners that help you clean your factory after you are done. They are necessary part of the business, but they are not necessarily a part of the production itself. So those are the factors that we use to classify the production market. Now, as a producer, you are going to buy different kinds of things. So if you are going to continue to buy your raw materials, there's a way to classify how you buy your raw materials. So these are things that you buy frequently. So the first way to classify it is a new task. In new task, what happens is that you are just starting the business. You understand? Or you are just getting a new supplier. Maybe the old supplier you had before has gone out of business or you don't like them again, but you are getting a new supplier. So you are making your first order from that supplier. And that first order is what we call the new task. Because as a producer, we are not expecting that. We are expecting that you will have suppliers that will be bringing that raw materials. You would have told them, oh, I need 2 bags of flour every month. So the supplier already knows. You don't need to keep going to him. He knows that every month you should just bring 2 bags of flour. You understand? So that is that's how you order things. That's how you order things when you're a producer. It's usually preferable that you have a supplier, especially if you are buying the same product, a generic product. You understand? It's different if you are producing clothes and you have to go to the market to select fabric. But if you are buying flour that is the same flour every month, why would you want to be going to the market every month? You just get somebody that will be delivering to you every month. You understand? So that process of selecting that person is what we call the new task. Then the next one there is the straight rebuy. So the straight rebuy is a situation where you just your order doesn't change. The person, you've already told the person every month be giving me 2 bags of flour. So every month it brings 2 bags of flour. Your order doesn't change. So it's a straight, you are just rebuying the same thing you bought last month. Then the third way is modified rebuy. So that means maybe your business has grown, or your business, or you miscalculated how many bags of flour you'll be using. So you buy the first one, maybe you bought 2, then your business grew. And then the next one, you now say, guy, don't bring 2, bring 3. So you modify what you bought in the past. So it's either you modify it higher or you modify it lower, any one of the two, but it's the same thing you're buying, but you're just adding to, you're just changing something about the order. Now, let's look at reseller markets, because there are people that produce and there are people that resell. You understand? For instance, the COVID-19 pandemic has created a lot of resellers. You see all those people on the streets, they will go and buy a box of face masks, then they will now buy nylon. You now put in a face mask 1 by 1 or 10 by 10 or 5 by 5 into the nylon, and they will be selling it on the street, and they are making a lot of money. So what those ones are doing is that they are reselling. So the resale market is made up of people who buy goods and then resell it. It also can be used for people who buy goods, that they are now going to use in their own operations. For instance, I gave the example of, the baker that has receipts, that has receipts, that has flyers. So those are not necessarily going into it's not necessarily going into the production, but it's a part of the business. You understand? So in some places you can classify such people as being in the reseller market. So you can classify the reseller market in 3 ways. You understand? So either the reseller is creating a new item out of what is reselling, like the face mask people. They are creating a new item. The original person that produced that product produced it in packs of 50. You understand? But these guys are now changing it into packs of 10, and they are putting it into resealable nylon, and it's a new item. And they are reselling a completely different, even though it's the same product essentially, they are reselling it in a completely different way than the producer actually produced it. The next one we have there is the best vendor. So in some cases, the producer cannot get to everywhere. You understand? So what they would do is they would stop somewhere, they would set up a large, depot or something, and then from there you will get different retailers that will come in, purchase those things in bulk, and then go and sell it into other places that the producer could not get into, go into deeper areas to sell. So those are the best vendors. Then the best terms is where a situation where the retailer, you are looking, the retailer, how do I explain this? The retailer is the producer, sorry, the producer is looking for the reseller that is going to offer him the best terms. You understand? Now, the best vendor is the person that is going to buy the highest, but the best terms is the person that is going to give him the highest margin. So for a producer that is classifying his resellers, you can either classify them as the best vendor, which is the person that is probably selling the most and is buying the highest volume, or the best terms, which is the person that is giving you the highest percentage, even though he's not buying as much as the person that is buying the most. You understand? But his percentage, the margin that he's giving you, excuse me, is better for you as a producer. Now, let's quickly look at government markets, because governments also buys, they also purchase, make purchases. And government units purchase goods and services for carrying out the function of government. So what kind of goods and services do they buy? So things like paper, things like tar for roads, things like cement for building, and things, so on and so forth. So there are two types of government buying. Actually, there are three, but because your module says two, let's go with two. The first one is open bid, which is a situation where they throw it open to everybody and saying, okay, that's usually when they are selling something generic, maybe or they want to buy something generic like paper, or they want to buy printers, things that you can just go to the market and pick up. But you know that government cannot just go to the market and pick it up because there's a process for purchasing for government. You understand? There's a laid down process for purchasing. So because of that, so they will now tell people, oh yeah, come and apply to supply us paper. So in an open bid, anybody can apply, and then the person will, with the best terms will be selected. However, there are also times when they have negotiated contract buying. Like for instance, the agreement we have with the Chinese for them to do build, operate, and transfer to us. So we are buying the railway. We are buying it essentially because it will be transferred at some point in the future, but we have negotiated with them. It wasn't open to everybody because not everybody could have delivered. Not everybody could have delivered. Not everybody could have delivered the job. So they will go and meet them and negotiate with them, and then they will come to an agreement, and then they will tell them. So a negotiated contract buying happens where there is speciality involved. Not just anybody can do it. So you have to go and sit down with the person and talk and agree to terms, and then the person does it. So somebody said I should tell you the third one. Yes, the third one is selective buying. Selective buying. So what happens in selective is that you will, there's criteria. So not just anybody can bid. There's a criteria. You can say only companies that have capital base of 100 million can apply. So obviously that one has already cut off so many people. Maybe it's a big project and you don't want any, riffraff coming around. So you can say only companies that have handled projects of 1 billion naira and above before can apply. So in that case, you are being selective about who can bid. You are just putting conditions in place. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. Are there any questions? If you have any questions, please send them to the group now. You can send it to the chat. If you have any questions, kindly send it to the chat. What's the time? Okay, anyway, we are just about out of time. It's 11:28. So if there are no questions, we can end the meeting. So thank you for coming around, and thank you for listening. Florence says the LMS quizzes seem restricted. Yes, you have to do one to do the next. One we have there are what we call dependencies. So you will see the dependent, what is it dependent on. You have to finish the first one before you can move to the second one. But don't worry, by the time you people come for your residential program, we will reopen all of them.
There is no residential program, sir.
Your exam, Professor, when you are around.
Okay, sir.
Is that what you are looking for? When you are around, we will open it. At least by then, everybody will have paid. By then, everybody will have paid, and we will know who we are dealing with. So we will reopen it at that point. Gregory said, "What are involved in operation in?" Your English is a bit funny. I don't understand what you mean. I don't understand that. Look at that question. Look at what you have written and see if you can write in a better way. I don't understand what you have said. Or anybody that understands can. AOC, I don't know. I've not answered the question. I've not answered the question, so I don't even know the AOC. I've just received questions from Dr. Oniku yesterday, so I'm here to look at it. But if there is AOC, I'll send it. But you can't read the whole module. I usually select questions from everywhere. More explanation on government markets. That's not the question. You can't say more explanation. What parts don't you understand? What part don't you understand? Let me, so I can go over it. You can't just say more explanation. Any other questions? Anyway, I'll be uploading this video to YouTube. You'll get the link today. So if you have any other questions, you can ask it on the YouTube page. Yes, you'll get it today. When I said best terms under classification of reseller markets, there's no question there. Okay. Now, if you as a reseller, you are going to buy a product, you can either buy from the person who is offering you the largest volume, you understand? Or you can buy from the person who is offering you the largest, the most profit or the best terms. So best terms can just be a situation where it's closer to you than the person who is cheaper. You understand? So for the best vendor, it might just be that. For the best vendor, it might be that, okay, this is the best quality of the market of the product in the market. This is the best quality available. So if you are a seller, you want to buy from the best vendor, you are buying from the best quality available. You understand? Or you can buy from the person who is offering you the best profit. The best profit. So, or the best terms. So it can even be a matter where, you know that it is cheaper in Isaleko, but you live in Iyanokpaja. And if you calculate the transport from Iyanokpaja to Isaleko and back, and also to transport the goods here, it doesn't make sense to go and buy from the best vendor, even though the best vendor is cheaper. You understand? So you will probably find somebody who is around Iyanokpaja and buy from the person. That's the best term. There's no area, I don't know. Abati, you said in open bid buying, who does the government allow to transact business with it? Is it the highest bidder or the lowest bidder? If you ask me, who I go ask, this is Nigeria, we don't know. But traditionally, it should be, it's not about who is the highest or the lowest bidder. It doesn't work that way. There are many things to consider. You have to consider not just the price, but whether the person has the ability to complete it. You understand? Somebody can just come and just, because he doesn't have anything, he'll just say, I will supply at 10 naira. And then you look at it and see that the person that is saying I can supply at 15 naira has the money to go and purchase it in the first place, because you are not giving them upfront. But the person that is saying 10 naira doesn't have any money to complete the job. So who do you give the money, the job to? You give it to the person that can complete the job at the lowest price. Yes, all study session is the AOC. So we have to end this. Time has gone. All right. The government market is people that government buy from now. People that government buy from make up the government market. The contractors, the builders, anybody that government buys from is part of the government market. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a lovely day.